welcome who's joined us. So today's webinar, to make sure you're in the right place, it's the tips for building a successful graduate career. So first thing really that I want us to look at is the learning objectives. What are you going to take away today? First of all, is defining what is career success to you. So we're going to look at the context of that, using a careers plan so that you can navigate through the uncertainty that exists in the world, the elements of what that career plan has in it, particularly learning about yourself. And some of the things that I'll be covering off today are the values, interests, skills, and strengths that you have, and most importantly, the tools that you can use to unpack and discover those. Then we'll do a bit of careers research, identifying goals and plans, and this is all about building your overall awareness. We'll want to build some careers confidence along the way, so I'm hoping we can do that. And I'll speak about networking, your brand, and also the pitch that you want to deliver when you are networking, and then give you some general hints and tips when you're on the job. And some of those that I'll be looking at specifically in today's workshop are knowing your team and organization, and the definition of success and habits, and how you can actually instill those in your day-to-day job. So there's some of the things that we're hoping that you'll come away from today. But first question is going to be to you, and it's looking at what is a successful career. Now, with career success, it's very individual. There's no right or wrong answer to what career success is. Everyone has their own perceptions, ideas, and feelings of what it should be. So one thing that I want to do for you right now is actually ask you, what is career success to you? And I want just to take a moment for you to share your thoughts just in the little comment screen there. Doesn't need to be a full sentence, just a few dot points, a few notes. Just take a moment now, share with you, what does career success look like? And Alex is going to then share a couple of those with me, so we can just get a bit of an idea about what you're thinking, and then that will help me also guide some of the workshop as well. So if you can, just take a moment, pop in your thought, what's your version of career success? What would you like it to be? Like I said, no right or wrong. It might be some dream that you have, some notion of what you'd like it to be, or perhaps you're not 100% certain, but you've got like a little bit of a thought. So it'd be great if you could share that with us. And then Alex is going to give me a couple of those, just so we can get a bit of an idea about what you're actually thinking, which would be really wonderful.
So we've got one so far from Victoria, and she said that for her it means work-life balance, working in a mentally stimulating and fulfilling position. We've got a couple of other students who are still typing.
Yeah, that's okay. That's some good stuff in there, Victoria. The work-life balance is one that's really coming up a lot lately. Since COVID hit a couple of years ago, people have really gone in and assessed, okay, what do I want it to be? What's the balance like? You know, I don't necessarily want to give my whole life to a job. I want to be able to do things for me as well. So definitely, yep, that's way up there. Mental stimulation, that's another big thing. People want to be engaged in the work they do, very much so. Thanks, Victoria. Really appreciate that.
So we've got a comment from Lorna Pitt, and she says, feeling like your role is not a job.
Yeah, so I'm gauging from that it's got meaning behind it, that you feel that you're making a difference. Definitely, it's a powerful one. So you're looking for some purpose and passion in the role. So fantastic, good.
And from Pratika, we've got a career that is rewarding and makes you feel good about the work you do and about yourself.
Exactly. Rewarding. And rewarding can mean a variety of things to different people. Rewarding can be emotionally fulfilling, sustaining you, but it can also be financial. Don't be scared of mentioning the financial part. We do want to be paid for the work that we do, and you deserve to be paid and deserve to receive a good salary. So don't be scared of even including that in terms of what you believe career success is. So fantastic. Thanks. Really appreciate that one. Any last ones, Alex, before I move on?
No one's typing at the moment. It looks like those are the only three that we've had contributed.
Thoughts? Yeah.
Thanks, students.
That's a great start there. But one thing I want to sort of pull out of that is that really for most people, the common denominator that comes down to for career success It relates to values, okay? And that was coming through just even those few comments that we saw there. People were starting to assess values and go, okay, they're related to both work, but also lifestyle. So in terms of work values, these are things like, helping people who have needs, perhaps. I want a variety of tasks, so that would connect to that stimulating idea. Working on projects as a team, conducting research, working outdoors, influencing other people's decisions. So things that are related to work, and they're really value an internal driver for going, yes, this is what I want to see from a work context. But then you've got the flip side, which is also a value, but more lifestyle. So good, comfortable salary, I can live close to home. Someone might want to drive an expensive car. The person, it might be balance. I want to spend time with my children. I want to pursue my personal interests, my hobbies, my sports. I'd also like to live close to the shops and restaurants because apparently that might fit your lifestyle that you're looking for. So the values are really the things that are important to you. And as I mentioned, there's no right or wrong to that. So something to think about and consider what your definition actually is. Now, it doesn't need to just be like a list of dot points. Values can also be a statement. And this is one that's particularly pertinent. And there's been a lot of research into career success and what it means in terms of like a narrative statement. Let me read this one to you. This one is a career where I develop my skills, have autonomy, get to use my strengths, where there are opportunities to advance, where I communicate directly with and inspire other people, where I believe in the mission of the organization, and the work fits well with my personal and family life. The research that's been conducted is if you can get that group of values together, those achievements, your happiness will be at the top end of the scale. And this is cited by great research such as Martin Seligman. Now, he captured this quite early, about 10, 12 years ago. It has changed only a little bit, but specifically in relation more to the organization part of it. Like there's mention of working on a mission that aligns with an organization. The reason why that's changed a little bit in the last 10 years or so is because so many people are wanting to start their own businesses. They're wanting to become entrepreneurs, have their own startups. So the movement is not necessarily that they want to have a mission with an organization as in a corporate, but perhaps their own business. But otherwise, all the other elements that you see in terms of career success are captured in there. It's very general, but it's a great starting point. And I get you to say, look at using this as your starting point, but then begin to add the specifics about what you're actually seeking. Now, career success, when you're looking at it in terms of those statements and the values, it's captured by three key areas. There's a mix of things that make up this successful idea of a career. And really, it's based on strengths, values, and interests. So your strengths and skills, okay, these are important because if you've got these in a job and as part of your career success, you feel just happier, more motivated, your well-being is better, they're linking it to longevity in a role, you'll stay on. If the organization has the same values as you, that is that they're aligned and there's a consistency, you will stay longer in the job. You want to be there because it matches your values. You won't be taking sick days because you love your work. And personally, you actually have improved health. You feel motivated, you're driven towards where you want to take the organization. And of course, if it's an interest that you have, the type of work that's being conducted is a personal interest. Once again, it builds your motivation. You're being reinforced by commonality because what happens is most corporations who have strong interest groups will form a community. You'll work with people who are like you. And of course, when you're working with people who are like you, you feel motivated, you have great discussions. I will mention that if you're looking at interests and you're particularly fascinated by them, do examine John Holland's theory of career choice. I'll go into that a little bit more, but it's also a great way to find out, okay, what things am I interested in? Now, what career success should be starting to sound like to you is it's about you. It's you. It's very personal. And because it's about you, it's important that you understand yourself. So this leads me on to looking at a career plan. Okay. Now, a career plan has 4 key pillars to it. First of all, it's about learning about yourself. It's exploring the options available, looking for opportunities, and then it's also the on-the-job success of actually having the job. What does that mean? Now, with the careers plan, one thing that is beginning to happen to it, originally it used to be 4 distinct pillars, but over time, especially the last 10, 15 years, the last 3 sections of the pillar have actually combined a bit because these now happen more simultaneously, and you can be looking for a job but also in a job at the same time. So part of your exploration is when you're actually in it. So it's happening much faster than it ever has before, and that's because there's so much more movement taking place. Change is happening rapidly, and as you can imagine, when COVID hit, everything got turned on its head. So that's the area. Points 2, 3, and 4 have combined. But of course, learning about yourself, that's the big one. Now, as I mentioned, the reason why this has happened, that we've looked at this idea that all these things are merging, these pillars, is because in the past, everything was separate because, career pathways were much more linear, much more stepwise. You do one thing, then the next, then the next. It was based on stages. It was based on how long you were with an organization. That doesn't exist anymore. The careers of today, as you can imagine, they're swirly. They could be looking like anything. You might be doing multiple jobs at the same time. You may have a multiple portfolio career. You might be taking a step back from your role because you're bringing up a family. Then you re-engage with it. You might choose another company. You may get promoted. It's a whole mix of things. So people then ask, well, if things are so chaotic and there's so much change, why would I even bother with a career plan anymore? The reason why you want to do that is because you want to look at the things that you can actually control. Okay. Now, with this, when you're looking at things that you can control, it's about anticipating change that could happen. Now, the good thing about doing this is that, okay, if you do need to change your plan, you can. You can adapt and assess it. Okay. But you do need to know, where am I at to start with? So why is it important to have a career plan? The reason why you want to have it, especially in this time of turmoil, is because we link very much to this idea of chaos theory. Okay, the world can be chaotic. With your careers plan, it's about working out, what can I actually control? Okay, so these are things like knowing yourself, setting goals, watching the job market, upskilling yourself, like getting an education. These are things that you can actually do. You control them, they're in your plan. And what this is like if you can imagine that you're an abseiler, someone who's going to lower yourself down a cliff face. This is your safety equipment. The things that you can control are like your safety ropes, your harness, your little carabiners that tie you in. It's your security, the things that you can control. Now, your descent into the cliff, you don't exactly know what the cliff face is going to look like. Could be different than you expect, but you've got your safety equipment, which is your surety. What happens is, this abseiler, if you can picture yourself as this person, as you move closer towards the edge of the cliff, this is known as the edge of chaos in chaos theory, you've got all these unknowns, the unanticipated, the change, okay? Before you lower yourself off, you know you've got your safeties. You can pull yourself back at any time. And it's your security to know that you can dive over the cliff face at any time, but also pull yourself back up. In that unknown zone, you can learn from your mistakes, okay? You could make an error or two. You've got your safeties there. You don't mind if things are a little bit uncertain. You can play with it, try some different ideas. You know that it's going to be, challenging at times. This change is going to happen, but you've got your rough plan. You can adapt things as you go. So that's why a plan's still important. So the one thing I do want to make you aware of, though, is working a careers plan, be aware it does take a little bit of time. It's not something you can do in 5 minutes. The reason it takes time is because you really want to get to know yourself. Don't think of it like homework. This is about you. This is important. You're worth it. So take the time to really look at yourself. So where do you start? You want to start by learning about yourself. So start with pillar number 1. Before you deep dive too much, this is the one you want to start on. It's learning about yourself, most of all. So a good place to start learning about yourself, refer to Griffith's website. The Career Service has Plan Your Career section that you can go into. It has all the tools, everything that you need that I'm referring to today are in there, all in the one space, okay? The links are available on the presentation when you receive it, so you can click right into it. So that's the tool that you want, and I'll highlight a few of the key ones I want you to look at. So with it, getting to know yourself, first of all, I would say a great place to start is look at your values, okay? Because values are such a key player in terms of turning out, what am I going to do, okay? So you want to define your values, first of all, because these act like your filter. This decides, okay, what are the types of opportunities I want to say yes to, and what do I want to say no to, okay? When you click on the link, there's a full values exercise that you can do. I've taken a bit of a sample out, so we can give it a little bit of a try now, and you can have a play with it. And you'll see there, I've picked, some lists of values, and that's on the screen in front of you there. So we've got things like helping others, being trusting, being initiating in terms of, developing ideas, a caring community. These are all values. I'd encourage you, pick 3 right now, just off the list. Just go, yep, if I had a value, this is important to me, okay? Pick 3 that you go, yep, don't overthink it. Just go, yeah, that sounds good. That's who I see myself as being, okay? And just rank them 1, 2, 3, okay? 1 would be your most important, going, yeah, look, I definitely think this is up there, number 1. Number 2, next most important. And the third, okay, it's important, but not as important as the other ones, okay? So have a look at that list now. Pick 3 that you think are, yeah, these are spot on. This would roughly describe me as a person. These are things I think are important and what I would like to have in a job. So do that now, and I'll get you to put your first one in the comments for me, and Alex will share those with me. But if you are struggling with this exercise, what you can do, this is a bit of a hint for you, ask your friends and family to help you out. Say to them, look, what values do you see in me? Like, when you come and speak to me, what do you see as being important? Like, am I a caring person? Do I really listen to you? Am I attentive? Am I a fun person to be? What do you see in me? Because sometimes when we're assessing ourselves, we can be a bit blind to what's in front of us, but our friends and family see it really clearly. So if you do struggle with what your values are, ask them. They'll give you some hints and tips, okay? So I'm hoping that you've had a chance to look at that little sample list there of some of those values. And in the comments, just share your first one. What would be your number 1 value that you'd like to see and believe that you hold in your life, and one thing that you'd like to see in your employer? And then Alex will read just a couple out to me so I can get a bit of a taste of what you're thinking.
So from Victoria, we've got harmony.
That's a nice one. It's a lovely one.
We've got some other students who are still typing.
Yeah. And once again, there's no right or wrong in this. And I've only just chosen a sample. When you do the actual deep dive exercise, there's pages of values there. And when you're doing the exercise, it will also ask you some deeper questions saying, why is this important to you? If you didn't have this, what would it mean? So it is more analytical, but at this moment, this is just sharing, top number 1, what you would like.
From Joshua and Pratika, we've got helping others.
Oh, yeah. So they both had the same one, did they?
Yes.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And then from Shaolei, we've got trust. And
Trust.
from Yilam, we've got caring.
Excellent. So as you've seen, there's even just in our small group, there's a variety of different values that we're saying this would be number 1. but also similarities. So values are such an important thing personally. So this is something I encourage you to definitely look into this one deeply. Once you've considered values, then consider your interests when you're aligning your career. Now, interests are really what motivates you. Okay. When you're thinking about what motivates you, I give you this advice. Consider the different environments that you're in to go, okay, when I'm in this environment, this interests me, this motivates me. So think about a casual job you've been in, maybe you've done some volunteering, your hobbies. What do you like to do during your free time? So when you're on holidays, what's something you're interested in? What motivates you to spend your time? When you're at uni, maybe some of your subjects, different things that you do, or when you're in your spare time at home, think about, well, when I'm at home, what do I like to do? Because it's my time, my free time. Really consider the specific tasks involved and what makes it interesting. Now, when you look at this, there is a full interest exercise that you can tap into on that web page. But I wanted to give you a little example so you can see how it works. So imagine there was a person that during their spare time, their hobby was collecting stamps. They loved collecting stamps. We would ask them, why? What is it about collecting stamps that you really like? And they respond by saying, well, it's the care and attention to it. I like, being careful about, how you remove the stamps off the envelopes and how you collect them. And you have to be really precise. You have to use little tweezers to place them. And they have little sticky hinges and you put them in an album. So it's really like a careful, precise thing. I love to categorize them. I put them under their countries. I theme them, anything that's got birds on it or sporting events. They love the history of the country. For them, the stamps represent, okay, how a country's developed. They also might like the designs, like the imagery that are used, the artwork that's in there. And they love the fact that they research on it. They might go, well, when I get a stamp from this country, if I've never heard much about the country or the designer of the stamp, I need to look into it and research. The other things that are important in this hobby is I get to work alone. I can have quiet time. I'm really driven. I want to achieve this. I love categorizing. So you can see in this one small area of interest, this hobby, we've been able to find out all these unique, interesting qualities and characteristics about a person. We found that, okay, they have an attention to detail, they like the precision, they like research. So all of a sudden, if you transferred this from an interest personally as a hobby, you could go, where could I also find this in a work environment? So perhaps this person may work really well in a museum or as an academic researcher, because those qualities, those things that they're interested in, they could replicate in those type of work environments. So that's why we spend time looking at interests. If you want to explore the interest further, the other one that I mentioned a few slides ago was that John Holland theory of careers choice. Now, when you click on that link, it'll take you through, and it's a bit of a survey that you can do, and it will bring up 6 personality types. This is also known as the RIASEC code, RIASEC, and it basically stands for realistic, investigative, artistic, social, enterprising, and conventional. They're your 6 personality types, okay? Now, once you know your personality types in terms of interests, you begin to match them to careers choices. So when you're working through these surveys, once you've got this, it then has additional links that take you through. Now, John Holland, that's been around for quite some time. So the only thing, if you are doing this test, remember that probably the roles that are going to be presented to you are your more traditional ones. They probably won't have the new ones like cybersecurity, that sort of stuff, because they're still a new area of development. They haven't put this into the coding yet, but you would begin to get a bit of a picture about your interests and possible areas that you would like working in. So do have a play with it and see what comes up. Now, once you've got your values and interests, now it's a bit of time to go and have a look at skills and strengths. Okay. Now, any research that you have a look at skills and strengths, it's found that the people that work in with their strengths, okay, they're going to be 6 times more engaged in the work they do and actually less likely to quit, which makes sense because if you're more engaged in the work because you get to use your strengths, you love your job. You don't want to quit. You don't want to move on. You want to stay there. Now, sometimes people get a little bit confused between skills and strengths. They are a bit different. A skill is something that you would actually learn, you acquire it, you can be trained in it, you'll practice it, become better at it. Whereas usually your strengths are something that are more natural to you. You would have them without having to go and get trained in them. They're a quality that you naturally possess, okay? And with your strengths, you tend to find they just energize you. They are who you are. And most people go, well, what do you mean when you say energize? Energizing is also known as being in this state of flow. Okay. When you're in flow, you feel that things just come so easily. Like this idea that you can just do anything. You have control over what happens. Time disappears. You don't realize that you've been working on this thing for hours and hours. You're just so motivated to do it, but you feel empowered. You feel motivated. There's a lovely little quote here, and it says, a state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The experience is so enjoyable that people will continue to do it even at great cost for the sheer sake of doing it. That's a pretty powerful thing. And I'm sure most of you have been in a state of flow where you go, my gosh, how did the time go so quickly? I just was enjoying myself so much. So something to think about. If you're auditing your skills, once again, go back to that career planning page and it's under the aspirations tab. And you can go in and have a look at some of the tools and pull out those interests, okay? Sorry, not interests, those skills. So go in and explore that one a little bit further. When you're looking at skills, some of the ones that you really want to try and pay attention to, because these are the things that you can begin to learn. These are known as your enterprising skills. The reason why I want to bring these to your attention is because these are the ones that your employers will value. So things like your problem solving, creativity, presentation skills, your digital understanding, or known as digital literacy, so the ability to work technology. These are really important to an employer. So if you've already got them in your skill set, great, tick the box. If you don't, do look at working out how can I get them, because they're going to be incredibly valuable. But go in, have a look at the test, do a bit of an audit on yourself, first of all. Now, strengths, there is also a couple really great tools that you can use. The two that I recommend are the VIA Strength Survey, which is on that first link, and the second link is another test called the High Five Test. Now, with these, there is the free version and the paid version. The free version is enough. It gives you like the summarized version. It doesn't give you all your strengths, but it gives you your top 10. This is enough to keep you going. Look, if down the track you want to purchase the test, great, go ahead and do it, but you can get away with the free one. It gives you a really good insight into what your key strengths are. And what I find usually happens is most people do it and they read and they go, oh, I thought I had that. I knew I did. And it's not quite as big a surprise as what you expected. You naturally had them, but sometimes it was just revealing it to you. So have a look at the strengths, a really, really good thing. Now, with strengths as well, the flip side people then talk about is weaknesses. Researchers are starting to find that you're better off staying in the strength zone, okay? Yes, you will have some weaknesses that you may need to work on, but spend more time developing, growing your strengths. Tim Rath, he believes that you should be at least spending 75% of your time in the strength side of things, working on those, that state of flow when you're feeling energized. That's when you get your most powerful work done. Whereas when you're in the weakness state, trying to address your weaknesses, it's a bit more of a battle. It's harder work. Now, there's other researchers that actually say, for example, Marcus Buckingham, he believes 100% of your time should be in strengths. So this is at the other end of the extreme. He says, look, if you just spend your whole time working on your strengths and are in a strength zone, your weaknesses will drop away and people won't care about them. They purely want you because of your strengths. I'd caution you about that. You do need to be careful because when you're going into an organization, they assess a bit of everything. So I would say, look, pick a zone between 75% and 100%, somewhere in between, but do look at your strengths and work with those because they give you the most impact. Now, because looking at yourself, it covers a lot of material. And like I said, you can be blind sometimes to what's in front of you. Make a careers appointment, speak with a careers advisor, careers practitioner. They'll be able to help you look at these in much more detail once you've done the tests, okay? They can help you out a little bit more. Alrighty, the next part of our career plan, these were those 3 remaining pillars, the ones that we're grouping together. So these are the exploring my options, looking at opportunities, and on-the-job success. Now, as I mentioned, the reason why we're grouping those together is because these are now happening simultaneously. They're all taking place at the same time. And a little bit of an irony that I wanted to share with you is that no sooner have you secured your wonderful dream graduate career, you should be looking for another job or your next promotion. So these elements keep happening the whole time, okay? The learning about yourself, you've got a secure anchor on that, remember? Okay, you've really examined yourself, your deep dive, but the other stuff, there is a lot more change that happens in that one, and that one happens continually. So with these 3, the best way to address it is construct a bit of a plan. How are you going to look at these 3 pillars and do clarify a bit of a route forward? If you're looking at a plan, there's lots of different approaches you can use. One that you might like to try, a little bit different, not everyone's heard of it's called an Odyssey plan. It looks at between 5 and 10 years, okay, ahead. And it's really just key elements, okay? It's good to have some plan, even if you don't use an Odyssey plan. This one's a nice, easy one. It gives you a general picture. But like they say, if you don't do anything, if you don't plan at all, well, you're not really going to know if you've made it or you know where you're getting to. So definitely have a plan. So let's have a look at a little bit of a sample of an Odyssey plan. So in front of you, you'd see this is a really simple little plan. With Odyssey plans, they do have a title. It's a really tight title, usually 6 words. So the reason why it's so compact is they want the person to be focused on where they're going. So for this particular individual, their title is Living Comfortably. So this ties back to that lifestyle value, okay, which they thought was really important. And their aim is becoming a management consultant. So really tight, really clear. It's planned over about 5 years, as you can see, 2001 through to 2025. And you'd see that they've got some key aims of what they're going to do in each of those years. Now, the extra part of an Odyssey plan is down the bottom, you can see these little gauges. Now, when you draw up your plan, you don't need to do little gauges, but you need to at least rank, or score these, what it means. So you go like maybe 0 to 10. 1 being, oh, I don't have it. 10 means, yeah, I've got it. So the 4 areas that you're looking at are resources. Resources are, okay, do you have what you need to move this plan forwards? For example, do you have the knowledge? Do you have the contacts? Do you have the education? For this person, they're ranking it fairly high. It's getting close to 100%. So that's great. They consider their resources. They've got everything they need. Do they like the plan? Okay, interesting. They're only about lukewarm on this one. Okay, in terms of a plan, it's lukewarm. That's interesting. Confidence in executing this plan, well, they're quite high. Okay, they believe they could actually get this plan happening. It's pretty close to a full confidence. And then you've got coherence. Coherence means, okay, does this link well? Like, is this making sense? Is this something that could be followed through? Once again, as a careers practitioner, I'd be a little bit worried going, it's interesting. The person that wrote the plan, is not really that sure that these things link up that well, that this plan is going to actually result in this, like one thing's not leading another. When you're writing your own Odyssey plan, be really honest with these last four things, because when you bring it to a careers consultant, highlight these to them. Because, like, if you presented this to me, this was yours, I'd be going, you've written this plan, you actually don't like it that much. So we should be looking at changing this, because you want something you like. You're going to be working on this for the next 4 or 5 years. But also, if you're concerned about the coherence, that this is actually making sense, we really need to tackle that as well. Okay. Now, the other part of planning is you do need to set it under careers goals being SMART goals. Those, be specific with them, clear focus, make sure you can measure them. Do be realistic. You want to make sure they're achievable. Otherwise, if you're setting them up, setting yourself to make them difficult, you may not achieve them, and then you're going, I'm setting myself up to fail. Make sure they are relevant. So this was that coherence bit. Is this making sense? Does it fit the plan? Also check that it's timely. Does it have dates? Because you want to know when you can achieve it by. Now, I like to have a bit of a statement in my plan because I like a narrative. I feel it gives you a bit more richness, a bit more depth to the plan, something that you can talk about much more with a person. So with this one, we've gone in and the person's written, I will obtain a position as a junior consultant with a large consulting firm within 4 months of university graduation. To do this, I will ensure I achieve a GPA of 6.5. I will create and action a specific networking plan, attending industry events, connecting with people at all the big firms. So as you can see, similar ideas that was in that dot-pointed Odyssey plan, but it just adds a touch more richness, something that you can really feel, connect with. I'd encourage you to write your goals. Now, a little bit of a checklist. So this is like those gauges that you saw there. With it, these are things you want to make sure that you've got to make your plan happen or your goal happen. Your knowledge. Have you got your studies in order? Are you aware? So self-awareness. Do I know my interests, my values? Can I tap into the careers team? They've got the knowledge. Source them out. Have I got the right learning? Do I need maybe a micro credential? Do I need something a bit extra? Get some feedback. Then have I got the experience? It doesn't need to be paid. It could be unpaid. It could be volunteer. Have I done a will placement? Where's this experience coming from? Your network. Who am I connected with? Have I got a mentor? Have I got someone giving me some advice? Then also from a coaching perspective, have I got the technical skills for the job search? Like, do I need help in my interviewing? Is my technique a little bit off? Do I know what sort of questions I'd have? Do I need help networking? You need to do a bit of research. If you can say, look, 8, 9 out of 10 with these, I'm pretty happy, you'd be doing well. But tap into the career service if you need a little bit more. The key, I would say, is research. When it comes to your plan, you want to research. So when you're looking for your opportunities, start by doing a bit of a job search. Have a look what's on Seek. LinkedIn is also a really good one as well. LinkedIn is moving in leaps and bounds at the moment. I would encourage you to go in and start doing your career searching or your job searching on LinkedIn. They've put in some back-end artificial intelligence, and it's becoming much better at examining people's profiles and matching profiles to careers and job positions. And as you use it more and you save jobs, it gets to know you and starts to see where you're headed in terms of the types of jobs you like. Start playing with it because it's becoming very sophisticated, and recruiters are really getting into using LinkedIn because they're finding it actually much more effective than the traditional method of Seek, where it was based more on just the job title. Also look at building your overall awareness of an industry as well. So if you've got a particular area that you're going into, check out what are the trends, what's happening in the industry, what's the latest news, what's going on with the company. You want to be able to talk about these trends. Okay, is the industry going up? Is it going down? Has it got a future? What's going on? If you're not sure, do some reading, but also tap into your network. You can get your industry insights from your associations, student associations, mentors that you're working with. Read it on LinkedIn, because a lot of people will post what they're doing in their jobs. Read some job descriptions. You can meet with recruiters. They'll tell you this stuff. It's about learning, doing your research. But then also, if you're going, well, I need a little bit more help with my career options, on this PowerPoint, you'll see there's some guides there. Have a little bit of a read of those. That'll give you some background information. The other thing too is another great, I guess, what we call a rule for success is this idea of a 60-30-10 rule, where your success in terms of securing a great job is based on 60% networking, 30% your brand, how you present, and actually only 10% of the work that you do. So for anyone that goes, oh, I don't really have that much working knowledge or work experience, don't worry, it's at the lower end. The real power comes networking, engaging with people, and then the personal branding is you. This is your identity. Remember our first pillar? You spent time looking at your values, your interests, your strengths. This is your personal brand. This is how you represent. Okay. So this is where you want to start looking at your focus. So because so much is in networking, 60% in networking, that's where you want to spend some of your time. So what is networking? Look, it's really making connections. It's building relationships. That's the key of what it's about. It's not you selling something. A lot of people get so concerned with networking because they go, I don't want to sell myself. You're not selling yourself. It's about a relationship. It's forming sometimes a great friendship. It's asking for advice. It's seeking help. The great thing about the networking is that it's a great way to find jobs that are unadvertised, looking for internships. You can do networking one-on-one with a person. It could be in a group environment, formal, informal settings. It doesn't matter as long as it's happening. So why are people saying networking is important for your career? Surveys are finding that 80% of professionals say that, look, this was actually the key to my career success. This got me the connection and the job. So back in 2016, 70% of people who were interviewed said, well, the reason I got the interview or the job was because of the connection. You'd find now it's actually probably even higher than that. And the stat being pulled is that 76% of jobs are not actually advertised. They're being found through this hidden job market or the network. Okay. So that's why it's so crucial to spend your time in this networking side of things. So your strong network benefits, why should you have it? So it's not just even now trying to look at during your first graduate job, but it's when you're in a job. So remember, all our pillars are coming together. So as soon as you secured your current job, your grad position, you're then also looking for your next great job, your next opportunity. So having this connection of people allows you to climb the ladder faster. If you do become unemployed or made redundant, period of time for that is much shorter. Okay. You can secure work much more easily because you tap into your network. What opportunities are available? Anything going, you can have a look. People are also finding that their level of job offer is actually much higher. They're being recommended for positions. And because of that, they get better salaries, higher remuneration, all that sort of stuff. And also generally, a worker or someone who's found a job through a network will be more satisfied with the role because this was a personal connection, someone that saw something in you and recommended you for the role. And you feel like you go, wow, I feel privileged about that. I'm happier. So, of course, less competition, more security. So that's why you have that benefit of, building that strong network. Of course, networking is not just, in person anymore. A lot of it is online. LinkedIn, your absolute go-to, your most professional network. Okay. If you're just starting out on LinkedIn and you're going, well, I don't really have that many people I'm connected with, think about friends, friends of friends, people you're going to uni with. Okay. These people are going to graduate, they're going to secure jobs. They might be in other industries, other companies. They will eventually form the strength, the absolute bedrock of your network community. Start now. Use your parents' friends. They could be in great positions, already employed. You can also choose recent alumni at Griffith. Search, have a look. Who works in the area that you're interested in? Who attended Griffith? Who did your actual course? Pick people that are established. Look at companies that you really want to work in. Connect with those people. Who's doing the job you dream of? Look at forming a connection with them. You can do a bit of research, find careers, connect with people who have those. And of course, a lot of associations have their own LinkedIn pages. So look at joining those pages. They're usually free as well. Now, the motivation for having these early engagements is you want to have an informational interview. Now, what is an informational interview? An informational interview is it's an informal conversation. It's an informal meeting where you meet with someone in your network and talk to them about how did they get there? How did they secure their job? What's this role actually like? It's for you to gather information, get an understanding. You want to work out how did they get to where they are? What's considered important? If I go for an interview, what type of things should I speak about? Okay, what's happening in the industry? Can you tell me a little bit about your organization? What are some of the big projects you're working on? These are great conversation starters if you're in a personal network meeting, but also if you're in an interview and the interviewer says, so what do you know about our company? What do you know about our industry? You can give this inside knowledge and information. Now, when you're in a networking situation, you do want to have what's known as your elevator pitch. This is you speaking about yourself 20, 30 seconds. The reason it's called the elevator pitch is it's seen that, okay, this would be the time it takes to hop in a lift or an elevator and go from level 1, maybe up to level 10. You've got someone in the lift with you. Before they get out the door, you've told them about yourself. There is an example on the screen in front of us now. So this person uses this as their introduction. So, hi, how are you? Well, my name's Daniel. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Well, I create illustrations for websites and brands, and my passion is coming out with really creative ideas to express the message. I love drawing illustrations that people can then share on social media. It's something that really drives me, motivates me. So all of a sudden, this little pitch is quite engaging, quite interesting. I've learned something about the person and I understand where their motivations are. Now, it's not about bragging. You just want to be more factual, give them an understanding about who you are. Now, we don't have time in our workshop today to actually work on an elevator pitch, so you will need to do it yourself. But I wanted to emphasize, as you're working on it, the real key is you want clarity in your message. So that is, be really clear. What is meaningful that you want to show? What motivates you? So remember when we were examining ourselves, we spoke about what interests you. When are you in that flow state? What are your strengths? These are things motivating. What are you genuinely interested in? You want to have these conversations backwards and forwards. And you never know, the things that you're doing would help someone else. So that's why you want to share with them. And basically, this is representing you. It becomes your brand and your image, okay? And because it's only 20, 30 seconds long, it's quite focused, it's quite easy, but it gives the person the opportunity to engage with you a little bit more. So this is going to be a little bit of your homework. On that link on the screen, it talks about how to develop up your elevator pitch. I would encourage you, please go in, take the time to do it. It's so important, and then practice it. That is the absolute key. Share it with people you work with, share it with your network, and say to them, what do you think of that? Do you think I could do a better job? So you'll find that you can tweak it and try some other things. So now we're at that last stage of the workshop where it's just giving you a few extra hints and tips. So when you're in the job, you're on it, what are some of the things that you can do to gain a little bit more success in the role? So some of the strategies I will speak about, which We won't have time to cover them all in depth, but they're things like get to know the team that you're working with, find out who they actually are, learn about your colleagues, researching the organization, understanding as what do they actually do, what's their history, have some good habits when you're on the job, arriving on time, doing work required, picking some quick wins. How are you going to contribute back? Defining success to your manager. We'll talk about that one. How are you going to be open-minded to what's going on, but also then challenging yourself. So the first one, getting to know your team. So with this one, this is your new network. These are people that you're going to have 8 hours a day with, at least. You're going to be working with them. Find out who they are professionally, but also personally. You know, do they have family? What are they interested in? Where do they go to holidays on? Get to know them from a more personal level. You know, share that cup of coffee with them. You'll bump into them in the kitchen. Have the conversations. But also do spend time with them to understand what are they working on? What is their actual job? So you might be able to see how can you help them? This is going to be really important because sometimes when you have blockages in your work because of time restrictions, whatever it might be, you may have to ask for a favor. And someone who knows you, they would be more likely to offer that helping hand compared to someone that you've ignored the whole time. So get to know your team. Also research the organization. You do this when you're going for interview, but then also do it when you're in the job. Try and find out, how does this company actually operate? What's their traditions? Why do they do things the way they do? Really be curious, understand their workings, find out who their CEOs have been. How has this influenced the culture? Because this helps you really understand the comings and goings with that organization. Also, really important, like you've defined your career success for yourself, you need to define it in your workplace with your manager. Let them know you want to speak about a plan. Find out what are the expectations, what resources do you have available on hand, what are going to be your goals, what are you going to do in the job? You know, your first 90, 100 days, what are you aiming for? Set up these conversations, set a time to work with your manager and then the other key people in the organization. So important to do because if you've got a strong relationship with your manager, it's going to set you up for your future success. Really be proactive. You want to be a person that looks for solutions. You want to take initiative, okay? This is the idea between, I guess, looking for someone that you want to keep on and someone that you would go, we probably don't need them. We want someone solutions focused. Also, the other thing that employers really want to look for and keep are people that can look after themselves, manage themselves, so be able to handle a timeline. Time management is a real key. Take care of things. Be considerate of others. Take on feedback. Be courteous in your communications. But also the work you do, make sure it is aligned with the organization's goals. You can't go rogue. You do need to work within the bounds of what you're doing. And then use your current job to build for your future career. You do want to shape it and make it your own, but work out where could you take this and what's going to be your next step. Do keep learning. Life's about continuous learning. When you're on the job, it's going to be really helpful because it shows that you're a person who's agile. You can move with the times, you can change, you can pivot, you can try new things, you've got different perspective, you can handle things, okay? Then when you've got all this understanding, there's this idea that you want to pay it forward, okay? You want to mentor someone, but also you may be in a position where you actually might need a bit of mentoring. You can do that in the workplace. You can also do it at the university. Why would you have a mentor? Well, really, it's about growing your professional network. They are really good people to bounce ideas off. They can help you overcome obstacles because they may have had this challenge in their own career and life. You can get that advice. Gives you different, broader ideas, helps improve your knowledge. Find people that, you know, have done similar work, similar professions. They're a great resource. If you want help while you're at uni now, we do have an industry mentoring program. The link is going to be on the screen. If you are not part of the program, I strongly encourage you. We have some brilliant coordinators in this space. They will help match you up with a brilliant mentor. So please make that program a priority. Get yourself on board with that one. It's available for undergrads and postgrad students. Then as well, once you've graduated, look at our alumni to alumni mentoring that takes place. So this is once you've graduated, they will once again help you match with mentors, but more in alumni capacity. We've got an incredible alumni relations team that will help you do a similar thing to what happens at undergrad level, but in a much more professional context. There is a QR code there that you can link to the industry mentoring program. I would encourage you, please link up and see it if you're very close to graduation or you have actually just graduated. So we have covered a lot of material. Summary up there for you. We've spoken about career success. As you've seen, no right or wrong, but do define it for yourself. We spoke about a careers plan, okay? The reason why we have it, it's our safety. It's like our ropes. It's like our safety harness when we're going over the cliff face of uncertainty, okay? We can tweak things as we go, but once we've got those elements of the plan, we've got an understanding of ourselves. And I mentioned it does take time. So please dive into it and look at yourself first of all. We spoke about values, interests, strengths, skills. There is the website. Look at the tools. You can do the test, do the exercise. It really helps. Look at the careers research. Do get that plan set. Homework was develop your elevator pitch because that's going to help you with your networking, make that easier. And also, when you're on the job, in it, on a will experience, try out some of those hints and tips that I'd shared with you. So getting to know your team and organization, defining what success means, and also having good habits. But if you find at any time you want help with it, please speak to a career development consultant. Make yourself a booking with someone on campus. They can do it in person, online, just to get that little bit of a sounding board, a little bit more advice. I thank you very much for your time and hope you've taken taken away some great ideas, some great material. We do have a feedback survey available. If you can, please scan the QR code on your screen, or if you don't have a chance now to do it, when you get the PowerPoint presentation, please, we'd love to hear your feedback, especially if you have future ideas of things that you would like to look at or have workshops on, different things you want shared with you, some extra helping hand that we can put together. Otherwise, your thoughts about today would be greatly appreciated. And I hope you've taken away some great pieces of information. I thank Alex very much for helping with the co-convening today. We will be arranging for the recording of this session to be slightly edited to make sure it's all nice and compact. But when that's put together, that will be available to you along with the PowerPoint as well. We'll record your attendance on your student record, so that way then if you're part of any particular programs, it will be reflected on your recognition in that space as well. Otherwise, I wish you the best of luck. I encourage you, try out a few of those ideas and do meet with one of the careers team if you need a helping hand. We look forward to being part of your continuing journey and experience, and have a wonderful day and enjoy the week ahead. Thank you so much.